What's going on, everyone? Welcome into the Chiefs Zone podcast. My name is Farzin Vasugian. It is a Wednesday, the last hump day before Super Bowl 60. And after that, the NFL offseason officially begins, unless you believe that there is no offseason, which seems to be the case with the NFL. But nonetheless, the final game of the 2025-2026 NFL season, Patriots-Seahawks take stage this Sunday. And it's going to be a big one. But is there a lot of hype going into Super Bowl 60? Doesn't seem like it. So I want to get your guys' thoughts on this going into this week's Super Bowl. Last episode, we spent a lot of time talking about Tyquan Thornton and how the Chiefs need to re-sign him. Tyquan Thornton is at Media Row for the Super Bowl this week. And he spoke today to a lot of different media outlets. I've listened to a couple of them, and he's been asked about whether or not he wants to return to the Chiefs. He says he wants to, but under one condition. You'll want to hear that. Also, it's been a very busy week for the Chiefs on the business side of things with the stadium situation, as well as their team headquarters involving KCK and Olathe. A lot of backlash in that area. I had a chance to attend the Olathe City Council hearing Tuesday night. It's my first time ever attending any of these kinds of things before. It was very interesting. I'll talk to you about that. Also, Rob Gronkowski spoke today, and he says Andy Reid should not be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Plus, Matt Nagy got a job since we last had a podcast. Matt Nagy got a job. We will talk about that, and will he be able to succeed with the New York Giants? All of that and much more here on this episode of the Chiefs Zone podcast. By the way, one other tease. A Missouri lawmaker is being very petty with the Kansas City Chiefs since they moved. I'll explain what that is in just a moment. All right. Let's get right into it here. This podcast is brought to you by SeatGeek. That's where I go to for all of my sports ticketing needs, concerts, anything you want to attend. SeatGeek has it for you. Obviously, we've got NHL, NBA, college basketball all underway right now. Very soon, we'll have Major League Baseball. Whatever it is you guys want to attend, SeatGeek has it for you. And if you guys want to save $20 off your first purchase from SeatGeek, all you have to do is put in my promo code Farzine, and you will save $20 off your first order from SeatGeek. Go to SeatGeek.com, get your tickets at checkout. New customers enter my promo code Farzine, $20 off your first order from SeatGeek. Appreciate you all joining me on this Wednesday night. Little time to waste, a lot to get into, so let's get right into it. Tyquan Thornton spoke to the media today. He's been out there in Media Row, as well as many other athletes, celebrities who take part in the media hoopla for Super Bowl 60. And he's been on several shows, as are a lot of people who are there. But the one I listened to, at least the entirety of that conversation, was when he was on Sports Radio 810 with Jason Anderson, and they had a pretty good conversation. Tyquan said he felt pretty good about his performance, felt like he put good stuff out there on film for teams to see. And the question came. I think this was the one question everybody wanted, and Jason was waiting for the right time to ask this question. Do you want to return to the Kansas City Chiefs? Actually, the question before was whether or not there have been any discussions about coming back. He said that's between the team and his agents. The follow-up question was, do you want to come back to Kansas City? And here's the exact quote. I would definitely want to be back in Kansas City. Wherever I go, I want to have my fair share of targets. I want to go out there and contribute and play at a high level. So that's Tyquan Thornton being asked about whether or not he wants to return to Kansas City. He says he wants to. And during that interview, they were talking about how Thornton last year Not this past season, the season before that, when he got cut by the Patriots and the Chiefs picked him up, put him on the practice squad. Thornton spent a lot of time with Patrick Mahomes on scout team, something that we did not even bother talking about at the time because that's stuff we don't see because the media, the public only gets to see practice for just 15 minutes, and that's when they're stretching. And maybe you get to see a little bit of team drills during that portion. But as far as the actual, quarterbacks throwing the ball to their pass catchers, we don't ever get to see that. Nobody gets to see that. So Tyquan Thornton kind of revealed maybe a little more than he should have. And he mentioned that one of the first things he was told when he joined the Chiefs in December of 2024 on the practice squad, he said, be ready, because with Patrick Mahomes, every player is a read on the field. Every pass catcher, every receiver, running back, tight end is a read. And at first, he didn't really take that seriously. And he learned in practice pretty quickly they meant what they said to him when he first joined the Chiefs. And he felt like he got a really good connection with Mahomes going early on when he was on the practice squad. And listen, in OTAs, we heard a lot about the connection between Mahomes and Tyquan Thornton. We saw it in training camp, we saw it in the preseason, and we saw it in the first 3 games. But everyone's frustration, and I'm not going to go over this in detail because we've beat this topic to hell, and Thornton kind of alludes to this, so I'll get back to it a little bit. But we saw him get utilized a lot in the first 3 games when Rashee Rice was suspended, when Xavier Worthy was injured. I mean, he was an important asset for that offense. He was your best deep threat this year. He was your most effective receiver. And for whatever reason, yes, we expected the snaps to drop, but man, it's like he didn't exist on the team. He had a big catch here and there, but you just didn't see much of Tyquan Thornton after Xavier Worthy came back, and even less when Rice came back. And that leads me to the comment he made about wanting to get his fair share of targets next season. Yeah, I mean, you have every right to demand that. Listen, there are a lot of players that want to be the highest paid player at X position, and they want to be heavily involved. Some players just don't have that leverage. Now, Tyquan Thornton's, I'm sure him and his agent are in no position to demand a lot of money, but I think with what was put on film this year, which Thornton alluded to in this interview with Jason Anderson, yeah, you're kind of in the driver's seat right now to dictate what you want and what you feel like you deserve, honestly. Look, if Tyquan Thornton decided he doesn't want to come back to Kansas City because he doesn't feel like he was used properly, man, I can't ever hold that against anybody. More power to you. You got to do what's best for you at the end of the day. Now, with a new offensive coordinator and a new wide receivers coach, which, by the way, massive upgrades in both of those positions. You're going from Matt Nagy to Eric Bieniemy. I've already gone over the numbers with you guys. And you're also going from Connor Embry to Chad O'Shea. I mean, the coaching staff alone is a big upgrade already going into the month of February. Would anything like that entice Tyquan Thornton to really want to stay? I suppose for the right price. And listen, we all know Kansas City, Brett Veach, I mean, that team, he and his staff have a lot of work to do when it comes to trying to reduce that salary cap number, because it is deep in a hellhole right now. If you said it was a hellhole, that'd be putting it kindly. It is way past hellhole. I mean, I don't even know what term you would use at that point. Basically, a disaster. And listen, we'll see. People keep saying that, oh, well, all Mahomes has to do is just redo his new deal. Yeah, if he agrees to it. Listen, Patrick Mahomes has never taken quote unquote less money. He's restructured it to basically kicking the can down the road is what he's done with it. So how does Brett Veach figure this out? Do they kick the can down the road again? I mean, I'm sure they're figuring all of that out at this time. Obvious cap casualties would have to be guys like Jawan Taylor, Mike Dana, Drew Tranquill, might be on the cusp of being a player who could get cut because of the salary cap. We know Trent McDuffie, there's a good possibility he's on the trade block this offseason. We'll have to see within the next 30 days, I would imagine. And I don't know exactly when the new league year begins. I'll look that up real quickly, but I mean, Kansas City's got a lot of work to do within the next 30 days. And so far, they have not re-signed any of their free agents. By the way, the new league year and free agency set to begin on March 11th. Now, let's keep one thing in mind. A lot of deals get negotiated before then. Way before. The scouting combine takes place on this month on the 23rd, and it bleeds over to March 2nd. And then the day after that, that is the deadline for teams to use the franchise tag or transition players. So, and then there's that negotiating period, whatever that means anymore. Let's be honest, the negotiating period starts way before that. The NFL just has really no way of enforcing that. I don't even think the NFL cares. I think the NFL loves it because from the combine, this is where you get all the leaks. And when the NBA, when the NHL, college basketball, when they are taking front stage because the NFL is way over with, and let's be honest, as exciting as the combine is, not everyone's watching the combine like they would an NFL regular season game. But man, when leaks come out there, it puts the NFL as the main event for headlines. So it overshadows whatever happens with the NBA, the NHL, college basketball. And I don't think Roger Goodell really cares. Probably why you're not seeing any consequences, any fines for tampering, because this is technically before the negotiating period, but that apparently takes place at a later time. I'll let you read between the lines there. But the NFL, I mean, let's be honest, these deals happen at the scouting combine because a lot of agents are there. Every team is there. Every GM is there. Every scout is there. Every head coach is there. That is the best place to get contracts done. And if you're the Kansas City Chiefs, you need to figure out your salary cap situation way before the free agency period begins, the new league year begins, because there might be a team out there that contacts Tyquan Thornton's agent. I'm sure a lot of teams, because let's be honest, if you're the Patriots, regardless whatever happens this Super Bowl, because of the new and improved coaching staff this year, I would not be shocked one bit if the Patriots were to target Tyquan Thornton and try to get him back. Don't you think the Patriots could utilize Thornton better with Josh McDaniels? And listen, say what you want about Josh McDaniels as a head coach. He had 3 opportunities. One of them he backed out of because it was a verbal agreement, if you remember, with the Colts. But as far as his time with the Broncos and the Raiders, an F-, if you will. And yes, apparently F-s exist because on the NFLPA report card, we saw 1 F- that the Chiefs received, and that was for ownership. But as far as Josh McDaniels, the offensive coordinator, that's a guy that probably, I mean, let's be honest, he would love to have a guy like Tyquan Thornton. And he can integrate him into his offense easily. I think the Buffalo Bills would be a great candidate to get Tyquan Thornton as a part of their football team. I mean, any team that's got a great quarterback and they're looking to make that extra push with a receiver like Thornton, who's not going to be an expensive acquisition, yeah, Tyquan Thornton is probably going to be one of those low-key, hot commodity type of free agents this year. 100%. So this is very important. Listen, I said this last episode. I know the Chiefs have Leo Chenal, who is severely underrated on defense, as well as special teams too. Let's not forget that. This guy had a huge hand in forcing overtime for Super Bowl 58, and he also helped the Chiefs keep their 9-0, their undefeated record for at least one more week last season with the blocked field goal over the Broncos. And he's done some really great things on defense that you don't see on stat sheets. Travis Kelce, sure, he's not what he once was. And Clark Hunt even said as much in an interview he had recently with NFL Network. However, he's still been your leading pass catcher the last couple of years. And he's still been one of the better tight ends in the NFL, despite everyone saying he's washed up and can't play. Well, he's playing better than a majority of the tight ends out there. He's been a top 5 tight end in terms of receiving yards. I don't know if that's, I don't know where he finished in that category this past season. I believe he still stayed top 5. I mean, once Mahomes went out, Kelsey's numbers weren't as good as they should have been, but neither here nor there. You have Kareem Hunt. No, his stats are not great, but I think the Chiefs want Kareem Hunt, and I think they will get him back inexpensive because he's been basically automatic in short yardage situations. I mean, 9 times out of 10, he'll get it for you. I don't think that's their ideal number 1 running back, but someone who they're going to seriously consider. Here's the most important thing. I said this on Monday's podcast, and I'll say it again. Tyquan Thornton is, without question to me, the number 1 player on your free agents list if you're Kansas City. He's not going to cost you much. And he was your most effective receiver last year. So Kansas City's got to make this decision quickly. And they've got, see, Brad's asking, don't they have to be under the cap when the new league year begins? Yes, which is why it's very significant and important that they work on the salary cap way before the new league year begins. Because I told you guys, these free agent negotiations, they happen at the combine. No one's going to admit it. But they do happen. When I say no one's going to admit it, I'm not talking about the media. I'm talking about the teams, the players, the agents. They're never going to confess that it happened at the combine. Come on, that'd be straight up. You could get fined for tampering on the spot right there. So they've got to figure out the. Rick says Tyreek Hill won't cost much either. I disagree. I know Tyreek Hill is coming off a very significant injury and he's on the wrong side of age 30, but he's still going to be an important asset for one team out there that's willing to pay him a lot of money. Unless if his true goal is to win and be willing to play for far less, then I suppose you've got options. Maybe Kansas City's one of them. I don't know. But I don't think Tyreek Hill is willing to play for cheap. A couple of you guys in the chat are asking if I have a consistent schedule here. Brad's asked this. Kimberly's asked this for when I go live. Brad's asking if I would post to go live. You know, I thought about posting a weekly schedule, and I thought nobody would care. Clearly, I was wrong about that. So here's the thing. Mondays, we go live at 7. Wednesdays, we go live at 7 as well. Now, we did do the Red Friday live chat, 5 p.m. Red Friday Q&A live chat, 5 p.m. every Red Friday. But the season's over, and right now we only do the Red Friday Q&A live chat if something significant occurs with the Chiefs. Right now, I don't think there would be a reason to have a Red Friday Q&A live chat. But yeah, I'm Mondays and Wednesdays, 7 p.m. But if I were to post a weekly schedule, maybe that would work. When did Tyreek Hill say that, Rick? I mean, maybe he hasn't straight up said it, but yeah, he's had all these cryptic posts. Listen, I think a lot of athletes just love to troll with cryptic posts. I know Travis Kelce, he's participating in this golf event with fans and professionals, which, by the way, Travis Kelce just completely shunning the Pro Bowl for this event. How funny is that? We got to get to the Pro Bowl later because I do have some comments on it. But as far as this whole situation, yeah, with cryptic tweets, I lost my train of thought for a second, but Patrick Mahomes tweeted, "Let's go, Kelsey," tagging Kelsey. Everybody thought it had to do with him coming back to the Chiefs. That was not it. And Mahomes even had to clarify. I think sometimes athletes unintentionally create speculation. And I think some of them love to troll with cryptic tweets to create speculation just to be, because Tyreek Hill, whenever the rumors came out about Tua gonna get benched or gonna get let go, when Mike McDaniel got fired, Tyreek had all these, even Eric Bieniemy coming back, he had something to say about it, and he did it with vague language on social media because he knew it was going to get picked up by Bleacher Report and ESPN and everybody else. So he had, a nice little cryptic tweet just to keep himself in headlines. Not a bad marketing ploy, if you ask me. Not bad at all. EB will get the best out of the wide receiver group and Thornton would play more. That's my hope and expectation. That is absolutely my hope and expectation. I'm telling you right now, the number one most important player to bring back on all of the free agents, Tyquan Thornton. Matt Araiza, good punter. James Winchester, good long snapper. He's up there in age, but maybe he'll continue to do it. Travis Kelce, yes, also important for your offense. I think he was on his way to 1,000 receiving yards before the Mahomes injury. But Tyquan Thornton, that's my number one pick to re-sign. So we'll see what the Chiefs end up doing with that. All right, I do want to move on here and talk about the Kansas City Chiefs in their stadium and practice facility situation. So last night in Olathe, which, by the way, this is literally 2 minutes from my house. So I went to the Olathe City Council hearing. I've never been to one of these before. I never really knew how these things worked. There were about 200 people there. It's funny. The picture I took, I was showing the council members. Plus, you could see the first couple of rows, and people said, "Oh, there aren't that many people there." Sorry, I'm not going to stand up and just straight up film take a picture of the entire room. I mean, I was going to stay in my seat. A lot of people had to stand. It was standing room only for those who came in late. So I got a chance to sit down on this. I sat down with Mark Van Sickle, who's been on this podcast. He was reporting for KCMO Talk Radio and did a great job there for those guys. But the city council was having a public hearing on the Kansas City Chiefs practice facility. I will get to the stadium in a moment because in Wyandotte County at the exact same time, they also had a public hearing. And in both Wyandotte County and in Olathe, people voiced their displeasure of how things are being put together. And they feel like it's been done in a hurry. I dated a high school teacher many years ago, and one thing she told me was a big pet peeve of hers is whenever a student is doing a PowerPoint presentation and they just read word for word straight out of the PowerPoint, it drives her nuts because she can easily do that herself, and she wants the students to be able to say something different than what's on the PowerPoint verbatim, word for word. The city attorney for Olathe that was presenting this, he was just reading word for word on the PowerPoint. I'm like, come on, man, don't sound like Chat GPT. I hate that. I really do. But the city of Olathe, they listen to what people have to say. Look, I know, and listen, we're diving into politics here. I know in these kinds of forums and these kinds of settings, the politicians will say, yes, we will hear what you have to say, resident, but do you care about what they have to say? Let me just say this, because a majority of the people who attended this, they were against what was going on. A lot of people felt like there was a lack of transparency with the information that was provided regarding the Chiefs headquarters, the cost, how that would be afforded with the star bonds and the way that's created and collected and is going to be applied. A lot of people are skeptical of this because this is a big project. Yes, star bonds have been used for many big projects in the past, but none as big as this for the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, listen, they're willing to put 70% on this project for the stadium and the team headquarters. That's a lot. David Sampson, who I believe he owned the Florida Marlins, he was a contestant on Survivor many years ago. He tweeted in response to this and said, "I'm a bad negotiator." I mean, just laughing at the fact that the Chiefs got this massive deal and, you know, no other owner has had that big of an asset given to them. No one. Listen, I understand a lot of you are upset about the Chiefs leaving Missouri and specifically Arrowhead, but let's be completely transparent here. Who is going to deny 70%? You could love whatever job you have at whatever location in the world, but if you're about to get a 70% raise, you ain't saying no to that. You're absolutely not. And the higher paying of a job you had previously, a 70% raise would be even more money. But I digress. That's not the point I'm trying to make here. The point I'm trying to make here is a lot of people from the city of Olathe, the residents, spoke out against this. I want to say there were about 20 to 25 people. A wide majority of them were against this. Very few of them said that they are in favor of this. Now, spoiler alert, the Olathe City Council voted 7-9. There we go. Okay, don't know what happened. Apologies there. Things got a little feisty at the council hearing. I remember when the people got to speak, they basically had to stay quiet, and it was the city councils. There were 7 of them. They had their opportunity to respond. Every single one of them said, "Hey, we hear you. We understand your frustrations." And then they had their excuses. And a couple of them even said, "Hey, we're getting emails that everyone loves this project. The majority of the people are in favor of this. They support this." And people don't like hearing that stuff. But I get it. It's politics. You want to leverage whether you're telling you the truth or not. And then it got to the point where people from the crowd started shouting. It happened a couple of times. One guy to my right next to me, shouted, "It doesn't create jobs. Do your research." I about jumped because I had no idea. Like, listen, man, you shout right next to me. I'm a jumper, okay? So this guy got a reaction out of me because he was right next to me. And this guy had the voice of a megaphone. And he was told immediately to be quiet. There was police presence there, so they got close to the rail where it was. Basically, that was like the physical warning of, hey, you know, the closer we get, the more likely it is you're going to get kicked out. And there was another resident who shouted, was asking, "Can you guarantee we are not going to be on the hook for this?" Which, you know, they would not directly respond to. But they were saying many times, "Olathe residents, you're not going to pay for this. This is all going to be covered by Star Bonds. And if it's not, the investors are on the hook for this." This is what they're claiming. Now, on the KCK side, very, very, very similar situation where people are concerned. People feel like way too much money is being given into this when it could be going to other places. That can be a topic for a whole nother time. Let me just tell you guys this. On the Chiefs stadium and practice facility deal, Kansas wants this to happen. And listen, some of you who are on the side of opposition because you feel like there's no transparency and too much money is being spent on this, you're not going to like what I'm about to say. But I'm telling you what's going to happen. Kansas wants this, and they will make it happen. They will do whatever Clark Hunt and the Chiefs are going to ask for. They just will. Here's why. Let's go back to the April 2nd vote almost 2 years ago. That failed. And a lot of people expected that to pass, including the Chiefs and Royals. Now, let's forget about the Royals on this part because they're not relevant in this conversation. They don't even know what the hell they're going to do right now. The Chiefs, they were ready to divorce the Royals, file the papers, and go campaign on their own. Well, the next day, and it wasn't official, but there were rumblings that came out of the media that the state of Kansas is already contacting the Chiefs. The state of Kansas did not even bother to wait one day. They saw that April 2nd vote fail, and it failed miserably. Kansas said, we're pouncing. We're going to get this. And they got it. Sure, it may not be officially signed, sealed, and delivered, but they're basically, I mean, they're working to make this happen. So the Olathe City Council voted 7-0 to build the team headquarters, offices, practice facility, and it is expected to be the future site of training camp for the Kansas City Chiefs. On the other hand, Wyandotte County, they did not vote on Tuesday, but they are going to vote tomorrow evening. Folks, I'll be honest, I don't know how many people are on the Wyandotte committee, council, whatever it is they have. It's going to be unanimous, guys. This will be unanimous because the state of Kansas wants this to happen. On day one, when the Chiefs essentially became free agents, Kansas wasted little time. It's almost like, you know, the best player in the NFL wants out of whatever team he plays for, and so he gets cut. And the second he gets cut, all 31 other teams are contacting his agent. That's exactly what happened after the April 2nd vote. The state of Kansas did not waste a single second. They went after the Chiefs. So, yes, you can attend these public hearings. And listen, I thought it was interesting. At times, it was a little boring, but, you know, it was my first time there. Certainly intriguing, and I learned a lot about these things. I think these forums can be a little bit better. Maybe instead of the residents talking, and then after that, they have to be quiet and they have to let the council talk. I think it'd be better if there was a way to go back and forth about things, because it wasn't a conversation. It was, I'm going to talk, then it's your turn to talk. I don't like that. I think a back and forth needs to be had, because when the council says something, people are going to have questions, but they were not allowed to ask anything. Neither here nor there. But I'm telling you, Kansas does not care what concerns anybody has. They want this. They're going to push forward, and they're going to get it. I understand that doesn't make some of you guys happy, or that makes some of you guys not happy. But Kansas wants this. Let me just add this, because in Olathe, and I don't know specifically what they said in Wyandotte County, but the Olathe Council was promising, they were almost swearing to the Bible that no one's going to pay for this, not a single resident. But the residents' concern is, yeah, but property taxes are going to go up. And we saw how that went in Jackson County for several years with Frank White. Look, I don't know what's going to happen. Are Johnson County, Olathe, Wyandotte County, KCK residents, are they going to see a raise in taxes from this? Probably not. But is that going to impact property taxes? Listen, I don't know shit about this stuff, okay? This is why I talk about sports and not politics. But you don't need a political brain to know that this is going to impact property taxes. You don't need to be an expert in politics to know this stuff. This is not Republican, Democrat stuff. It's none of this. This is basic common sense here. So, listen, if what the city is doing does not please you, I hate to say it, but too bad. You got options to leave. I hate to say it that way, but there's not much that can be done. Kansas is, Olathe and KCK specifically, they're going to make this happen. 100% going to make this happen. All right, let's move along here. I got a question for you guys. We've got Super Bowl 60 coming up this week. How do you guys feel about the hype going into this game? But listen, a majority of you are Chiefs fans. So please be objective on this. Please. Do you really think, do you feel the Super Bowl energy? Because I don't. And listen, I love listening to national radio, ESPN radio, Fox Sports, Sirius XM NFL radio, great channel, great hosts. But there is very, very little hype going into this game. And I don't know why. I mean, you've got two great teams playing in it. And don't give me this BS about the Patriots and their easy schedule. Man, when you make it to a Super Bowl, there is nothing easy about it, especially considering the most recent game, the AFC Championship for the Patriots, was a road playoff win for them in bad conditions against the best defense in the league. But is there any hype for this? Now, the venue for Media Week should not matter, but I'm watching all these clips with all the interviews they're doing. Where the hell are they? They look like they just stuck all the teams in a warehouse and said, here, this is where you're going to do your interviews. Usually they find a big convention center. If the Super Bowl were to ever come to Kansas City, I would imagine that the Kansas City Convention Center or maybe the Overland Park Convention Center, since maybe they're going to try to push to keep everything in Kansas. I don't know. I mean, one of the convention centers would have to be used for Media Week, for Media Row. I love listening to all the radio stations that are at Radio Row. I think it's a lot of fun. The hoopla, the celebrities, all of that stuff. It's a lot of fun to listen to. You only get it once a year. I remember for the longest time as a Chiefs fan wondering, when are the Chiefs ever going to be a part of this? And they finally became a part of it. But it doesn't have that big vibe. And I don't know if sticking all these guys in a weird warehouse in the San Fran area, in the Bay Area, if that has anything to do with it. I mean, for God's sake, did you see the Pro Bowl? I didn't because I was at the Olathe hearing. But, dude, where did they play this Pro Bowl at? Usually they find, I mean, nowadays, because of how different the Pro Bowl is, they find like some weird, some smaller stadium. Usually it's a high school field. So I don't know, man. It's odd. It's really odd just how much the Pro Bowl has changed. I always thought the Pro Bowl was cool in Hawaii because that's the only NFL game Hawaii got. And because players aren't that busy, I mean, the Pro Bowl is not that serious of a game to prepare for. I've heard players, they have a lot of downtime, so they do a lot of meet and greets, autographs, pictures with fans and whatnot. So I always thought that it was kind of cool for Hawaii. Plus, you get a free trip to Hawaii. Now, I remember back in the day, it was one of those things where it's like the players of the losing team get $20-some thousand. The players from the winning team get $50-some thousand. I don't know if that's still the case today. I mean, look, the Bengals had two quarterbacks in the Pro Bowl. And you want to know who the other AFC quarterback was? Shedeur Sanders. Remember what I told you guys last week? We need a TikTok challenge to be trending where you say the words, Shedeur Sanders is a Pro Bowler, and you have to say it with a straight face. I can't say it. I can't do that. It makes no sense. So to me, it's like this whole Super Bowl Media Week. I don't know, man. I'm very eager to see the ratings for this because I do think it's a great matchup. Just because my favorite team is not in it after being in it 5 of the last 6 years, I'm not going to sit here and shit on it because first of all, these two teams worked really hard. And I think there are intriguing storylines. The Patriots were bad for a couple of years. People were wondering, how is that team going to dig themselves out of the heels of the Brady and the Belichick era? And they did it. I mean, there are teams who have sucked and have had high draft picks for 20 plus years, and they couldn't rebuild as fast as New England did. I'm a big fan of Mike Vrabel. And I think Drake May, for him to reach a Super Bowl before Josh Allen, that's a big deal, man. And then on the other side of it, speaking of Josh Allen, you've got his fellow draft classmate, Sam Darnold, who switched teams 5 times. He's in a Super Bowl now. He's in a draft class with Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Josh Rosen, and Baker Mayfield. Josh Rosen's obviously out of the league, but Baker's doing well right now. Lamar Jackson's a 2-time MVP. Josh Allen is the reigning MVP. By the way, congratulations to the New York Jets. You drafted a Super Bowl participating quarterback. That doesn't happen often for the New York Jets. Boy, if you told New York Jets fans that they drafted a conference champion, not NFC champion, just a conference champion, oh boy, I think they would have had the parade in Times Square by now. 100%. I don't know. I like this matchup. I really do. I don't think it's going to be heavily one-sided like a lot of people think it's going to be. I do think it's going to be a 10-point game. I think Seattle will win. I think Jackson Smith and Jigba is going to be your Super Bowl MVP. So I just, I don't know. I'm curious to see what the ratings are going to be like for this game. So I want to know from you guys, who do you have winning this game and who is your Super Bowl MVP? I want to know. Super Bowl 60 deserves a sports book built for the moment, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 60, puts you right in the center of the biggest game of the year. And when anything can happen during the Super Bowl, DraftKings has your back with early exit. Meaning if a player in your NFL eligible prop bet goes down in the first half, you will still get paid out in cash immediately once your bet settles. No bonus bets, no waiting. And as we look ahead to Super Bowl 60, there are a couple of big storylines that I really like. The big one, the two coaches, Mike Vrabel, Mike McDonald. In my opinion, these two should be 1 and 2 for Coach of the Year. And these two coaches turned around teams that missed the playoffs last year and got them to the Super Bowl this year. Another big storyline is Seahawks quarterback Sam Darnold, who has now become the first quarterback from his draft class to go to a Super Bowl. This guy has played for 5 different teams in his 8-year career. After a roller coaster career for him, he is now on his way to his first ever Super Bowl. Super Bowl 60 will be a great one, and if you're new to DraftKings, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use my promo code ChiefZone. That's code ChiefZone to turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino in Kansas, wager tax pass-through may apply in Illinois. 21 and over in most states. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer.
A lot of you guys are saying the Seahawks are going to win the Super Bowl. A lot of you guys are picking JSN to win MVP. Okay, yeah, I guess we're all in agreement here. Clear the Air says 28-24 Seahawks. Is that intentional? If it is, well played. How crazy would that be if that was the score? Wasn't that the score when they played? And I'm sorry, I don't remember the number Super Bowl it was, but the one where they threw a pick at the 1 yard line. Wasn't that the score also? I mean, it had to have been. It had to have been. Because I remember Richard Sherman was doing the 24. And then people took the part where he did this and they said, hey, sure, how many points did you lose by? And that became a meme. So Brad says Kenneth Walker. See, that's a different one right there. Eric says kind of like the Detroit Tigers draft their Super Bowl MVP QB before the Detroit Lions is Patrick Mahomes. Yes. Unfortunately, the Detroit Lions can now say they drafted a Super Bowl MVP also. He won it with the Rams, though. And obviously referring to Matthew Stafford. So Maxon says, I've learned how football is all about the money, so they want you to bet on Seahawks and Pat's blowing them out, so we all lose all of our money. There you go. Listen, bet responsibly. You just heard that a moment ago. Here's my thing with sports betting, because Dave Ramsey, and listen, I know Dave Ramsey, he can be on the political side sometimes. I enjoy listening to his show, and I like all of his co-hosts. I think they're informative. I think their show is entertaining too. I'll listen to a lot of the people who call in with the problem. I was listening the other day Somebody called and said that they're struggling, but they're making $750,000 a year. Man, if you're making $750K a year, your life problem should be solved. But I digress. Dave Ramsey spoke out because he has gotten some phone calls about people who are losing money due to sports gambling. And he, called out some of the sports books, including DraftKings, had a lot to say. And he talked about how people need to get rid of their addiction. And he blamed the sports books because they do all this advertising and they're able to afford all this advertising because of the amount of people who bet. 60 Minutes did a fantastic piece on this where they mentioned there are people who will, and listen, you can look at bet slips and you can see what time people place their bets. People in the middle of their night in their own bed will place a bet. They'll see a preliminary tennis match. They don't even know who the hell those competitors are, but they'll place a bet because they like the odds in that. Here's my thing with betting. Whenever I went to Vegas to place a bet, I would do $100 on the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl. I actually got really lucky one year. For Super Bowl 57, and this was before the season started, bet on the Chiefs to win, $100 there. Bet on Mahomes to win MVP, $100 there, and bet on Mahomes $100 to lead the league in passing yards. I got a nice $2,500 little bonus right there. And it's funny because I claimed that on my birthday. And I'll tell you right now, I spent it all right away on Vegas Golden Knights playoff tickets, and it was worth it because they won in overtime in the Western Conference Finals. They wanted to win the Stanley Cup that year. But my thing now is with betting, I'm not even so big on it anymore. I always love checking the lines, but I'll forget to bet sometimes. And whenever I do bet, it'll be like $1 if I'm really confident, $2 on a parlay. If I'm really, really, really confident, I'll put $5. Why not? Here's the thing, man. Sports betting is supposed to be fun. You shouldn't be dishing out $20 parlays on every single NFL game and college football game. A lot of people do that. Now, if you were just to do $20 once a week on a parlay, look, not going to break your bank entirely. So if you can afford that, go at it. See, Robert says my max bet is $10. I don't know if that means $10 a week or you do once a game like that's, or just $10 in total per week. Like, that's smart. That's the best way to go about it. I'll even do like the no run first innings for baseball. That's fun to do. I'll just put $1 on that and I'll pick several games. You win or you lose. I've been able to win a couple of times on that. So at the end of the day, it's like bet responsibly. Again, you heard that about a couple of minutes ago. So that's the way I go about sports betting. I have a question. Have any of you guys ever purchased anything from Fanatics? Because they are in serious hot water right now. So Seahawks fans and Patriots fans have expressed a lot of frustration to Fanatics because the quality of jerseys that have been sent to Patriots fans and the Seahawks fans for the week of the Super Bowl, the quality of those jerseys are not very good. And part of their statement, they're saying the Super Bowl matchup has created unprecedented challenges for us because of the massive surge in demand we saw from Patriots fans and Seahawks fans. Both teams went from missing the playoffs last season to being in the Super Bowl, an incredibly rare occurrence that led to these two fan bases buying nearly 400% more jerseys since Thanksgiving. So basically what they're saying is these two teams sucked last year. We did not expect them to unsuck. And because of this, there is a high demand that we cannot meet. Bravo, Fanatics. Bravo. Bravo. Did you guys listen to the PR bullshit machine this week called Roger Goodell? I did. You guys know my thoughts on Roger Goodell. I do not have a lot of positive things to say about him. My biggest criticism of Roger Goodell is he demands coaches and players to be available weekly for media obligations, but he doesn't. And I think he should and he must. because we have all of these issues with officiating, with things that occur in with teams that come out through the media. We have all of these things that happen. And the best person to ask these questions to are to Roger Goodell. Listen, I appreciate Dan Blandino, who is the rules expert for Fox Sports, and he does go on sports talk radio stations to try his best to justify certain calls, or at the very least explain why they were called the way they got called. Look, I really appreciate Dean Blandino being that guy. I do not want to hear from Dean Blandino on a Tuesday or a Wednesday once the week is officially concluded, and he makes excuses for these refs. I don't want to hear from Dean Blandino. I want to hear from Roger Goodell. Roger Goodell barely meets with the media. He does it on Super Bowl week, the week of the Super Bowl, I should say, the week of the draft. Maybe not even like a big media group. It'll only be like a couple major outlets. That's it. And then, before the season begins, like the kickoff, he might do a couple interviews there. But in general, Roger Goodell does not get asked a lot of questions. Now, I know one big thing from fans, like especially this year with the Chiefs not being so good, a lot of Chiefs fans were asking the media, hey, media, how come you guys don't hold Andy Reid accountable? It's not the media's job to hold a coach or a player accountable. It is their job to ask difficult questions, yes. But it's never the media's job to create accountability. Now, do they ask tough questions to let coaches, players know, hey, what you did was not okay, and there are a lot of people not happy about it? What do you have to say about that? Obviously not like that word for word, but you find professional ways to ask those questions. Roger Goodell never faces those questions. Every coach, every player has to be available to the media, but not Roger Goodell. And teams cannot criticize officials because if they do, they get fined. Which, by the way, where was the fine for the Buffalo Bills? They criticized officiating in that one, and I don't think they ever got fined for that. Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, and listen, I said it at the time, not only were they wrong, I thought it was kind of silly to blame the refs. They were heavily critical of the officials in that Kadarius Toney offside game, and they got fined for it. Where was that for the Buffalo Bills? Do they get a free pass? I mean, Bills fans love to act like the league is against them, but the league has done more for the Bills than any other team the last few years. They've changed multiple rules for them. They don't fine them when they complain about officiating. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make here is Roger Goodell, and because, the media, only a select few from that crowd is allowed to ask a question. And by the way, Maria Taylor, look, she does a good job on NBC. She asked a lot of bad questions on the stage when she got her opportunity to ask, basically start off the panel, if you will, the press conference or whatever you want to call it. I mean, I get it. You were the chosen one because it's, NBC's week. So you got to, and she has to be on the friendlier side. Man, the media just does not want to ask tough questions. They're afraid. I mean, the media, especially with what's going on with the Giants and the Epstein list, there were a couple of questions regarding that. But Goodell just doesn't ever want to face these tough questions and quickly turns down whatever he doesn't like to hear. He says, oh, well, you've got your facts wrong. No, the facts are not wrong. You just don't like what's being said. This is probably, listen, commissioners in general are not very well liked. That's just the way the game goes. But man, Roger Goodell, for the amount of issues the NFL has, he does not ever want to face the music. And you know what? He likes that. Because whenever everyone's complaining about a fumble not being called on a tush push, he likes that. Remember when people were posting media clips of that on Twitter? The NFL filed copyright claims on those videos. Listen, I've posted clips on X before. X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. They've never once removed any of those clips, but they did it for that tush push. And I wish Roger Goodell was available that week, as well as every other week, So he can answer, hey, how come you guys never filed a copyright claim on X for football clips, NFL clips specifically, but for that one you did? Like, man, that was like week, 2 or 3? By then, that's kind of forgotten about. Because, that was almost the beginning of the season, basically. Roger Goodell should be available to the media every single week. And the fact that none of those people in the media asked, hey, Roger, how come you're not available to the media weekly? They're scared. They saw what happened to Dave Portnoy. Portnoy is not even allowed to be in the building of any of the 30 NFL stadiums. I think that might have changed recently. But Portnoy got banned just for criticizing Goodell for how he handled Deflategate. And the other people in the media saw it and they said, yeah, we want to please people. Listen, Carl Peterson was heavily criticized because he would ban Jack Harry, who was heavily critical of him. I don't know, man. Listen, when I was in the media for a couple of years, I was never afraid to ask the tough questions. I would ask Charlie Weiss. I remember during his second season when the Jayhawks only won 3 games compared to one the year before, which is still bad, by the way, when your coach is getting paid $2.5 million. I asked him, I said, what progress do you feel like is being made this season with 2 games to go? And he didn't like that. So I waited until after the season, after the last game, and I asked that question again, and his response was not a good one. He said, you asked me that last week, and we just finished our season. Now's not the time to ask that. Okay, I can understand, the timing of the question you don't like, but you're getting paid $2.5 million. I had someone from Jayhawk Slant. For those who are KU fans, you'll probably recognize that name. They have paid subscribers, and he walked up to me after one of the press conferences. He goes, I appreciate you asking that question because our paid subscribers are asking the same question. As they should. Listen, people are heavily invested in college sports and sports in general, but in college sports with boosters and people willing to make donations and whatnot. I mean, when things are not going right, you have to answer the question. What is Roger Goodell? What is his salary? Last I checked, it was 40-some million. According to Front Office Sports 2 days ago, it's now 64 million. Okay, I didn't realize it was that big. Okay, it's 40 million annually. I don't know why. The headline says 64 million per year. That's not correct. Okay, so in 2017, okay, I'm reading this wrong. Okay, here's what it says. 2017, he signed a 5-year extension that would make him allow him to earn 40 million a year. But apparently now it's 64 million a year now. And that was when he signed a new 3-year contract in 2023. Yeah, when you're getting paid $64 million, you should answer tough questions. And you should do it weekly. But hey, man, I'm just a podcaster, so what do I know? You guys all know about the Hall of Fame going on right now with Bill Belichick not getting in. He only got 39 of the 50 votes. You need 40 to get in. This week, word got out that Robert Kraft did not get into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So the head coach and the owner responsible for the dynasty that got 6 Super Bowls in 18 seasons and appeared in 3 more, the head coach and the owner are not going into the Hall of Fame on a first ballot. Look, I mean, this doesn't make sense. I appreciate Vahe Gregorian's explanation and the senior nominees. Listen, I'm not someone that knows every detail of the NFL from the 80s, the 70s, and before that. I don't. I'm not going to pretend to. But I still have a strong appreciation for those who are senior nominees because I recognize that might be their last chance, especially while they're alive. And look, let's be completely honest. Whether, alive or deceased, if they don't make it then as a senior nominee, they're not going to get in because we continue to have more and more players And those players and coaches, once they retire, a lot of them become first ballot guys. Tom Brady will be a first ballot Hall of Famer. I know it's kind of crazy right now with the Patriots. Tom Brady's getting in. Drew Brees, maybe not a first ballot Hall of Famer, but it won't take him very long. I just gave you 2 quarterbacks. And listen, not a lot of guys get into the Hall of Fame each year. Last year, only 4 people got in. Jared Allen was one of them. And look, I like Jared Allen. I thought he had a great career. I was kind of shocked that Jared Allen, and let me just double check on this. What did he get in as a first ballot Hall of Famer? No, it wasn't a first ballot Hall of Famer, but it was his first time as a finalist. I don't know, man. I think sometimes what happens is maybe it's recency bias that plays a role. We're all guilty of that, me included. Who was it? I can't remember which Hall of Fame voter said it, but he had a really interesting way of phrasing the Hall of Fame. He said, the closer to the ball, the better chances of getting into the Hall, referring to the fact that there are more players in the Hall of Fame than coaches, owners, contributors. Owners are considered contributors, but you get the idea. Belichick will go in as a Cleveland Brown. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make sense. Oh, and by the way, Travis Kelce, let's say 2026 is Travis Kelce's final season. In 2031, Travis Kelce is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Or 31 or 32, whichever. He's going to get in right away. I mean, a lot of these older players, like I've been saying for a long time, man, Deron Cherry should be in the Hall of Fame. I think Neil Smith has a strong case for the Hall of Fame. I get that. Listen, just because you made 1 or 2 Pro Bowls does not make you a Hall of Famer. I recognize that. I really do. But there are a lot of worthy players deserving of getting in. And whoever was forgotten about in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s even, sorry, but good luck to you. You're not getting in anytime soon or maybe ever again. And I hate that because, you know, we're great friends with Deron Cherry and his foundation. But if I'm being completely realistic with you guys, I don't think Deron Cherry's ever going to get in. He should be in. But the Hall of Fame has long forgotten about him. We had a very honest conversation with Neil Smith. And listen, I was trying to kind of tiptoe around it because I didn't want to come off as rude or disrespectful. But mid-sentence, he kind of stole my thunder and said, yeah, we'll be forgotten about, which is what I was about to say. But he kind of just took it for me and said it for me. Look, the Hall of Fame is corrupt. That was official this week. They're not getting Jim Tyre in. And by the way, this bullshit about Belichick not being nice to the media, shut up. That is the biggest crock of shit ever. You do not want a guy in because he wasn't friendly when answering your press conferences? Sure, you know, I would appreciate a better attitude from Belichick in these press conferences, but that doesn't warrant him to be excluded as a first ballot Hall of Famer. Absolutely does not. Darren says, Deron Cherry, easy Hall of Famer, inspired my naming even. I like that. That's awesome. Chiefs chose Larry Johnson over Jared Allen. What? Larry was 03. Allen was 04. Was he not? No, anyway, not the point. The point is, you're talking with the contract extension. Yes, that's okay. You're right on that. By the way, this leads me to my next point. Gronk doing what he does for Fox Sports, and of course the Patriots being the Super Bowl, he's obviously doing a lot of media recently. Gronk spoke to Front Office Sports, and he was talking about Andy Reid. Bill Belichick. Now, keep in mind, they did not ask anything about Andy Reid, but on his own, he brings up Belichick not getting in as a first ballot Hall of Famer, and he said that no other coach can be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Then he acknowledges Andy Reid and basically insinuates Andy Reid should be a first ballot Hall of Famer. But then he goes on to say that because Belichick was not a first ballot Hall of Famer, then neither can Andy Reid. Listen, if you want to sit here and be frustrated with Belichick not getting in, have that conversation all day long. I'll have it with you. Nobody with a brain. Listen, you can hate on Belichick or the Patriots all you want. If you think it's creepy that he's got a 20-some-year-old girlfriend, yeah, sure. Think that all you want. None of that should penalize him from being a first ballot Hall of Famer. It is asinine he didn't get in. But don't drag Andy Reid down with him. Like, Andy Reid was not the one who campaigned for this. If you want to be angry with anybody, be angry at Bill Polian, Vahe Gregorian, and the other 9 people that didn't pick Belichick to go in. I don't know what the numbers were for Robert Kraft. By the way, Tony Dungy was not willing to say who he voted for. Look, a lot of you guys have said, why are media members voting? It should be players and coaches. Well, we have players and coaches voting, and they didn't put Belichick in. That is ridiculous. By the way, if you ever talk to like any of the athletes and ask them what their top 5 guys are, what top 5 quarterbacks, they'll give you like a really terrible list. I do think the media should be voting on this. And here's why. They watch more games than players. Like, let me give you an example. Patrick Mahomes, when he's playing a football game, he's not able to watch all the other games. I mean, some of us have an interesting setup where we've got a phone, a computer, a TV, maybe multiple TVs where we're watching games. So we're able to see a lot of the action more than the players do. The players just get to see the highlights. And yes, they'll do film study on the teams they're playing against, but they don't do film study on the other 31 teams on a consistent basis. They don't. The media does pay attention to all 32 teams consistently. I think they're better off being voters. And I'd listen, a lot of the media, I say a lot of them, not all of them, a lot of them went to journalism school and they were taught objectivity. And they took objectivity serious to their jobs. Listen, being an Associated Press writer, USA Today writer, wherever it is you write for any national publication, and say what you want about sports media and media in general today. No, it's not what it once was. But I still think the media would serve as better voters. Is Gronk a first ballot? I think so. I'd be shocked if he was not. Wouldn't you? I mean, sure, yes. He played with the GOAT. Any tight end could be successful playing with the GOAT. And yes, he's missed a lot of seasons due to injuries. I mean, hell, the year that Tom Brady came back against the Falcons in that Super Bowl, that was without Gronk, because Gronk missed a majority of the season with an injury. But I still he's considered a 4-time champion because he was still a part of that team. There are guys on the Chiefs practice squad who are considered Super Bowl champions because they were on that team still, even on the practice squad. Yes, you still get a ring if you were on the practice squad, even for just 2 weeks. I remember Isaiah Buggs, who got in trouble because of, and I don't remember I think animal cruelty was the charge on multiple occasions. He was only with the Chiefs for a brief moment. But because the Chiefs won Super Bowl 58, he was a Super Bowl champion by default. So he got a ring. He got to hold the trophy like everybody else. And that's the way it goes. I get it. So everyone that's on the team is a Super Bowl champion, including Gronk, who missed a majority of that season. So I think he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. But don't drag Andy Reid down with Belichick. Your frustrations are warranted. Dragging Andy Reid into this for no reason, makes no sense at all. Super Bowl 60 deserves a sports book built for the moment, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 60, puts you right in the center of the biggest game of the year. And when anything can happen during the Super Bowl, DraftKings has your back with early exit. Meaning if a player in your NFL eligible prop bet goes down in the first half, you will still get paid out in cash immediately once your bet settles. No bonus bets, no waiting. And with Super Bowl 60 upon us, I am going to give you my prediction for the big game. And I want to start with the coaches here. Mike Vrabel, Mike McDonald, the two guys who should be 1 and 2 in line for Coach of the Year this year. You know these two teams are very well coached. These two teams missed the playoffs last year, and now they're coming in hoping to win Super Bowl 60. And from the quarterback's perspective, you have Sam Darnold of the Seahawks, who's had this great resurgence over the last 2 years. And then you have, on the Patriots side, Drake May, who's had a great season in his second year in the league, reaching a Super Bowl, is an MVP candidate. Both of these quarterbacks have had a great season, and I think they will both have a great game in Super Bowl 60. But I think the biggest difference maker in this football game is going to be the wide receiver for the Seattle Seahawks, Jackson Smith-Njigba, and in my opinion, this guy is not human. He makes nearly every catch thrown his way, and defenders deliver these big hits to him, and he manages to hold on every single time. After corralling almost 1,800 receiving yards and 10 touchdowns in the regular season, JSN is coming off a big NFC Championship game where he had 10 catches for more than 150 yards and a touchdown. JSN is my pick to win MVP for Super Bowl 60. I think he's going to have a massive performance. I think he'll have at least 2 touchdowns in this one. So I am betting on JSN to be the MVP for Super Bowl 60. And I think the Seahawks will win this game 34-24. Super Bowl 60 will be a great one. And if you're new to DraftKings, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use my promo code ChiefZone. That's code ChiefZone to turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino in Kansas, wager tax pass-through may apply in Illinois. 21 and over in most states. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer.
See, a couple of you guys are asking, if Deflategate, Spygate, the Tuck rule, is that being held against Belichick? Is it being held against him? Yes. And the Robert Kraft thing with the massage deal? Sure. But it shouldn't. This is the thing with Jim Tyre. Jim Tyre should be in the Hall of Fame. Jim Tyre was the Willie Roaf before Willie Roaf. And listen, you know who's another... While we're on the topic of Chiefs players who should be in the Hall of Fame, I know a lot of people say Otis Taylor. From the research I've done, Otis Taylor, that's a difficult case to make. I think it's more difficult than people realize. Yes, he was an important part of the Chiefs offense back then, but you know who does have a strong case? Ed Buddy. A lot of people might not know who Ed Buddy is because he was an offensive guard. He was the first ever offensive lineman to win AP Player of the Week honors. Keep this in mind. Jim Tyre not in because what he did off the field with the double murder suicide. Yes, that's awful. And sure, there might have been a lack of information with CTE back then. But you do not exclude people from the Hall of Fame because of this. And listen, whether it happened before or after, O.J. Simpson's in the Hall of Fame. Okay? Like, you can't be excluding guys because maybe the way things ended for them, whether it was professionally or personally, you can't just exclude them. It's not a character Hall of Fame. It's a pro football Hall of Fame. And I think people forget about that sometimes. Listen, it's something that I've said for a long time. I truly believe Carl Peterson should be in the Chiefs' Ring of Honor. No, the Chiefs never won a Super Bowl with Carl Peterson, but I truly do believe. And listen, the Chiefs are very proud of the fact that they hold a Guinness Book of World Record for loudest stadium in the world. They broke that record once, it was taken from them, and they took it right back immediately. The Chiefs are proud of that record. And I think a big reason you have that record is because of what Carl Peterson, as well as Marty Schottenheimer, what they created in the 90s. If it wasn't for Carl Peterson, I don't think you have the exuberant fan base that you have in Kansas City. But the Chiefs are never going to put Carl Peterson in there because they technically they forced him to resign. They fired him. Okay, let's be honest. He was fired. But I think the environment created in Kansas City for football is because of Carl Peterson. And I think that's transitioned over to what you have now. Sure, there were those dark years between 07 to 12, which led to the exit of Peterson and also the exit of another general manager in Pioli. But I still think you shouldn't let just those few years overshadow everything else he accomplished with that team. But the Chiefs are going to hold that against him because of the way things ended with that organization. And I don't think that's right. Listen, we're not saying put Dwayne Bowe in the Hall of Fame because he led the league in touchdowns for a whole year. Do I think Dwayne Bowe is even a Chiefs Hall of Famer? Listen, there aren't a lot of great wide receivers in Chiefs history. So I think Dwayne Bowe will get in, but it will take time. I mean, listen, Tamba Hali, I think he has the second most sacks in Chiefs history right now. So it didn't take him very long to get in. But somebody like Jamal Charles, it's going to take him maybe a little bit of time. Maybe not too long, because he does have an NFL record for average yards per carry. Although I think that might have dropped a little bit. Not the average, but his ranking dropped a little bit because you have a couple other running backs that have been doing well. Brad says they fired Jack Seven. He's in there too. Yeah, I mean, listen. Otis Taylor should be in the Hall of Fame. Len Dawson said Taylor doesn't get the credit he deserves. Listen, I don't disagree. I think Taylor should be in. I'm just saying the case for him is pretty difficult. Here's my thing with the Hall of Fame. Here's my solution. Because Vahe Gregorian's justification was he wanted to get the seniors in because they won't have another opportunity. And he's right, they won't. I think the Hall of Fame needs to change up the amount of players that get in. Because I know for the 100-year anniversary, didn't they have 20 people go in? I think they did. Oh, by the way, on the Belichick and Robert Kraft with the massage, Spygate, not being nice to the media, Terrell Owens was rejected a couple of years before he finally got into Canton because of his behavior, which made no sense. That's not why you omit someone for a couple of years. But you know who was a first ballot Hall of Famer? Brett Favre. Remember what Brett Favre did when he was in New York? He allegedly sent nudes to a team reporter. I mean, they posted some of the text messages. So there is something behind it. And look, I know he's already in the Hall of Fame, but more recently, Favre has been involved in a very serious allegation with stealing money in the state of Georgia. Look, if you're going to put Brett Favre as a first ballot Hall of Famer, despite what he did with the harassment, the sexual harassment with that reporter, but you're going to omit Belichick because he wasn't nice to the media or he spied or deflated a football, get out of here, man. You got to be consistent with this stuff. Is Tony Gonzalez a first ballot? Yes, he is. Or does Super Bowl play a factor in that? Well, it depends on the position, Kyle. If you're a head coach or a quarterback, you better have some Super Bowls. Otherwise, you're not getting in. If you don't have Super Bowls, as a head coach, you're just not going to get in. You're not. I think that might be a big reason why Marty Schottenheimer will never be a Pro Football Hall of Famer. He's been a candidate, but I don't think he's ever been a finalist. Now, I'm not going to push back on that. As much as we all love Marty here in Kansas City, as a head coach, you got to have a championship. And Marty didn't. Now, Tony Gonzalez, being a tight end, Tony played on some bad Chiefs teams. Now, he also played on some good Chiefs teams, as well as some great Falcons teams. And he put up massive numbers. Who's the famous quarterback to not win a Super Bowl? Dan Marino. He only went to one Super Bowl. But you know what? Dan Marino put up insane numbers, especially in the 80s. And so he is a Hall of Famer. I can't remember if he was a first ballot or not, but and listen, here's what I will say. I think 20 years from now, I will say this, especially in social media, we don't forget things as sports fans, but 20 years from now, are we going to be talking about how Belichick was heavily omitted as a first ballot? No. Belichick will be referred to as a Hall of Famer, 100%. What I will say is, Eli snubbed with 2 Super Bowl wins, and I know Eli didn't have the most marvelous career for a quarterback, but 2 Super Bowl wins, come on. You can't let that go. How many quarterbacks have 2 Super Bowl wins? There aren't a lot. I mean, hell, look at right now active quarterbacks. Only Mahomes. Before him, it was Brady, Manning. I mean, there aren't a lot of guys in recent memory either. Eli's got to be on there for sure. Yeah, Bob mentioned Dan Fouts. I mean, listen, there are a lot of guys who should be in the Hall of Fame, but they're not. Jerry Jones. Who's the Fox Sports guy? Jimmy Johnson was not in the Cowboys Hall of Fame. I know we're talking Cowboys Hall of Fame, not the Pro Football. I was shocked last year when Jimmy Johnson had a Hall of Fame ceremony. I was confused. I was like, wait a minute, he's not in the Cowboys Hall of Fame? But there were behind closed doors drama between Jerry Jones and Jimmy Johnson that prevented him from being in the Hall of Fame, which is ridiculous. That should never be a factor. You have to set your egos aside for these things. Anyway, I think the Hall of Fame must change their rules and how players are allowed into the Hall of Fame. You've got to make it so more players and coaches and contributors can get elected. Because if it's only going to be 4 to 5 guys a year, maybe 6 or 7 some years, dude, there are a lot of guys who will pass and never see their name in kin. I think Neil Smith deserves it. I think he played a big factor, a big role in that. I think Duron Cherry deserves it. I think Otis Taylor deserves it. Ed Buddy, Jim Tyre. I know Jim Tyre, they're omitting him for different reasons, but it makes no sense. It makes no sense to me. That's got to get fixed. And I hope they fix it sooner rather than later. Breaking news this week. Guess who got a job? Matt Nagy is the offensive coordinator of the New York Giants. Yes, Matt Nagy got a job. He is going to the New York Giants. And I told you guys this on Monday. I said one of the possibilities for Nagy is the Giants because their head coach is not a play caller and John Harbaugh. So he's always given play calling duties to offensive coordinators. And that's also an Andy Reid tree guy, by the way. Harbaugh, that is. So that made sense for Nagy to go there. How is that going to work out? Well, listen, I like the New York Giants and everything they have. They have Jackson Dart, and he's got some things to work on, but I liked what I saw from Jackson Dart's rookie season. They have Cam Scadaboo, who I wish the Chiefs got him. And I think he's going to be a special talent, and I hope he can come back from his injury. They have Malik Neighbors, who's a good wide receiver, and he got off to a great start this season. If they can get back Wan'Dale Robinson, I think that is significant for that Giants offense. That would be huge. Now, I'll say this right now. Would Nagy and the Giants heavily pursue Tyquan Thornton? That would be good for Jackson Dart. I would hate to see that. I would absolutely hate to see that. But Matt Nagy, listen, I was starting to get skeptical of his chances, but he finally got a job. It is going to be with the New York Giants. I guess we'll find out soon. People have been wondering, is it Andy? Is it Nagy? What was the problem with the offense? People just felt like, some people felt like Nagy was a scapegoat. I disagree. I think we have enough evidence to show that, listen, he just wasn't a good offensive coordinator. And listen, I really like the talent that the Giants have. I think they've done a great job of drafting over the last few years. But I am concerned about that talent there with Nagy. Look, there are some talented football players that go into bad situations. They get drafted into really bad situations. And they don't really end up recovering from, though. Listen, maybe Sam Darnold was not good early on in his career because he was in some really bad situations. I don't know. I haven't really studied Sam Darnold's history that deep to know what specifically happened with the Jets and the Panthers and all these other teams that he played. Obviously, in Minnesota, he resurrected himself. Who was the other team? It was the Jets. I can't remember if the Panthers were the next team or if that was a third team. The Panthers were the second team. In San Francisco, he was a backup quarterback. That's when the Chiefs and the 49ers faced off in the Super Bowl for a second time. Then he went to Minnesota. That is where he really resurrected his career, and the injury to J.J. McCarthy kind of helped open the door for him to get to where he is today. So, which is great. And listen, maybe being involved, being around better coaches, maybe that plays a role. It absolutely does. Listen, the Chiefs in 2012 didn't change a lot of their personnel. Yes, they changed their quarterback, which is huge. But for the most part, they still kept a lot of the same players. They went from a 2-14 season to starting 9-0 the following year. Tom Bahali said it that year. Coaching is the reason for that turnaround. Do you think it's an accident the Chiefs have had a winning season every single year with Andy Reid up until this past year? I mean, that plays a factor. They just needed an extra push, so they went from Alex Smith to Mahomes, and that allowed them to finally be Super Bowl contenders and champions. Yes, plural, champions. So we'll see how it all pans out in New York. Surprisingly, they actually like this move in New York. They do. We'll wait and see. Last thing on my list here. Look, obviously, we've talked about the Chiefs leaving Missouri, leaving Arrowhead, and that has upset a lot of people on the Missouri side. There's a lawmaker in Missouri named Chad Perkins. And listen, the state of Missouri, they are bitter. They are letting the Chiefs know they're not happy. There is a bill that they're trying to pass to make the Chiefs accountable for stadium demolition after they leave Arrowhead, which makes no sense because the Chiefs don't own that stadium. Jackson County owns it. This is like, paying for your grocery bill, but because, you felt like you were disrespected by another customer in aisle 7 that the store should pay for it. No, come on. You got to take your L on this one. Missouri senators, you failed on this. The entire state just failed from leadership all around, and the Chiefs did not appreciate the Missouri leaders in this one. Just take your L. Just take your L. Now, there is another law they're trying to pass in Missouri. You want to know what they're trying to do in Missouri because the Chiefs are leaving? They want to ban Chiefs custom designed license plates in Missouri. Yeah. Listen, I know we already talked politics earlier with KCK and Olathe and the whole Chiefs Stadium headquarters thing. But now I'm going to dive into real politics. What? These are your elected officials, man. These people are elected and they're doing things that are absolutely not important whatsoever. And your tax dollars go to this. This effort to what? Ban Chiefs custom license plates? I'm sorry. Like, what are we, 12? This is ridiculous. Look, if you're angry that the Chiefs are leaving, be angry. Speak your piece. Speak your mind. Say what you got to say. Get it off your chest. But if you're going to go create a bill to try to pass it as a law and try to tell people that we're going to ban Chiefs license plates, and this is going to be in August at the earliest, you want to hold it against the Chiefs that badly? Bro, this is pathetic. This is really pathetic. I mean, this is embarrassing on so many levels. You're supposed to be a leader for your city, your town, your region, your state, and you're focusing on banning Chiefs license plates? Vote red. Listen, vote red, vote blue, vote however you want. I don't care. But don't vote for clowns like what's his name? Chad Perkins? What are you doing? I mean, I guarantee you, the amount of time applied to this could have been applied to something far more important. Like, come on, man. There's always something more important than this. This makes no sense. You know what's really funny is because I posted about the Super Bowl halftime show, because they're going to be dueling halftime shows this year. Dude, you guys are weird with your politics. One day I'm a woke liberal, and then the next day I'm a MAGA cult member. You guys can't make up your minds, can you? And truth be told, I'm neither. I used to be on both sides in the past, red and blue. Now I'm like, dude, I'm old enough now where I voted enough times where I'm just like, man, I see how corrupt the two-party system is. But there's a two-party system, and then there's this. Banning license plates because the team left your state. I mean, listen, if this was like a copyright thing where the state would not be allowed, that'd be different. Okay, but then you're not banning it. This is just you being, that would be a copyright thing. This is just you being petty for no reason. And do you think Clark Hunt is losing sleep over this? Absolutely not. Brad says, I have called you a liberal before. I am sorry because I'm not sure. That's okay. I appreciate the apology. But listen, I genuinely am. I'm neither. And people are like, oh, that's just you playing both sides of the fence. No, it's not me playing both sides of the fence. And listen, you guys are getting me on a political rant now because I'm going to get told stick to sports now in a second. I don't feel the need to pick a side on everything. A lot of people do, and it doesn't make sense. Listen, if I ever agree with something a Republican says, it's because he has an actual base for his reasoning. Same goes for a Democrat. It's because I think they're right about what they're saying. A lot of people will just agree with a politician or disagree based on whether they're red or blue. And I think that's silly. But that's where we are today with politics. And then we have politicians banning license plates. Christopher says, I don't think voting even matters at this point. You know what? I disagree. I used to be that guy that said, you better vote. Listen, I'm a naturalized American citizen, and that's a big deal to me. A bigger deal than my birthday. But I'm not going to push back if you don't think voting matters. Because I think politicians on both sides have proved over the last decade, like, what's really being accomplished? What promises are being kept? I mean, it's always complaints after complaints after complaints. That's all it is. By the way, I mentioned earlier, the Super Bowl is not getting a lot of hype, but the halftime show is. Dude, any Super Bowl post I've made this week, nobody cares. Nobody cares. Now, maybe the day of the game, I'm sure it'll be a big deal. But the Super Bowl halftime show, that's a huge deal. Everyone's talking about this. I think it's funny. So on the NFL Super Bowl halftime show, you have Bad Bunny, who's going to be a part of this. I did not know this until this week. Is Green Day part of the halftime show? Dude, when I was in middle school, I loved Green Day. The album American Idiot. Let me hold on. There were some great songs on that album. Let me see if I can pull that up. Why can I not find the track list for this? This should be okay. There it is. I'm on their Wikipedia page. Remember Jesus of Suburbia? That's a 9-minute track, and it's split into 5 parts, which is weird. Holiday is from the American Idiot. That is a great song. Boulevard of Broken Dreams, another great one. Here's one. Extraordinary Girl. She's a Rebel. Wake Me Up When September Ends. That one, people love to use it for reels every time September starts. What's her name? Dude, Green Day, they had some bangers in the mid 2000s. So I'm actually, and I'll be honest, I could not tell you a Bad Bunny song. I've heard of Bad Bunny. I know he won himself a Grammy last week for Best Album. Good for him. I'm not saying his work is bad. I'm just not familiar with his work. Then on the other side of it, from the Turning Point USA, which is the late Charlie Kirk's platform, they're going to have their own halftime show, and they announced this week their lineup. It's going to be Kid Rock. I remember Kid Rock in the 2000s. Roland, was that him or Limp Bizkit? I always get Kid Rock and Limp Bizkit mixed up. Obviously, Ba with the Ba. I remember they would play that at Arrowhead. I can't name you a lot of Kid Rock songs. Now, Brantley Gilbert, Lee Bryce, Gabby Barrett. I'm going to be completely honest. I don't know who these people are. I'm not saying their work is bad. I'm just not familiar with a lot of the rock. And I'll be honest with you guys, I listen to way more old school music than I do this new school stuff, like 80s classic rock. That's my jam right there. So that's part of the reason why I have no idea who a lot of these people are. What are you guys going to watch? I'm curious. I'm probably going to watch the NFL halftime show because of Green Day. Yeah, Bad Bunny. Apparently, Bad Bunny is going to wear a dress. It's a little weird, but okay. I'm watching more for Green Day than Bad Bunny. So I'm picking the NFL halftime show because I was a huge fan of Green Day in the mid 2000s. I mean, that really was part of my jam. Remember, iTunes would allow you to create playlists. And before, you had these fancy iPhones that have thousands of songs on them, tens and thousands of songs now. I would put it on a CD player, and you could only put 12 songs because a CD could not, a CD that you would burn could not have more than 12 songs. And so I would pick a couple Green Day songs as part of my own mini soundtrack. Country artists. Okay, I'll be honest. I'm not the most familiar with country. My songs back then were Hotel California Dancing. Okay, see, Brad, you got great taste in music. I like that. I mean, that is, you know what's a really, I don't know if they were underrated, but I feel like they just don't get the recognition they truly deserve. Queen never gets talked about in the classic rock genre. NFL needs to hire Metallica. That would be a good one. I'm a little biased. I'd say Tech 9, but that's just me. I know that's not going to happen, but I'll be working, so I won't be watching either one. No, fair enough, Lori, but okay. Well, I think we covered a lot here on tonight's episode of the Chiefs Zone podcast. We're over an hour and a half, so I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. My name is Farzi Vasugi, and hey, I appreciate all of you tuning in for an hour and a half of the Chiefs Zone podcast. Unless there's any breaking news, this will be the last podcast before Super Bowl 60. So there will not be a Red Friday Q&A live chat. We'll bring that back once there is significant Chiefs news. Whenever that will be, we'll certainly have those. So be on the lookout. Just won't be this week. Do you have an update on the Chiefs Zone live show? Yes. We do. I'm not allowed to say much, but I know a lot of you guys want to know the date so you guys can plan. All I can say is late March. That is all I can say. It is it's going to be during the last weekend of March. I don't even know if I'm really allowed to say that, but I want to give you guys some kind of a heads up because I know some of you guys who are not here want to plan for it and want to give you guys that opportunity. So yes, there is an update on the Chiefs live show, a really, really significant update. I am hoping we can make an announcement real soon. I'm excited. And let me tell you this, every single person involved is also excited. Like really, really, really excited. I'm excited to drop the news on this. So it's coming very soon, hopefully. I'm Farzin Vasugian. Thank you all for joining me tonight. Enjoy Super Bowl 60. I'll talk to you all next Monday, 7 p.m. Central Time. Peace out.